Today we are sewing the Taegan Boxer short. This is the bridal version and the only difference is a tie on the front waistband. Otherwise, if you're sewing the regular Taegan, all steps apply. In your kit you will find the elastic waistband, the tie, this will be labeled number 2, and 2 pieces of fabric for your short, and this will be labeled number 1. Quickly identifying the pattern piece, we have the waist at the top here. This is the back rise. This is the grow on fly, and right underneath that we have the front rise. And across here is our leg opening. There is no side seam, as you can see. Step 1 is to lay out one piece shiny side up and another piece shiny side down so they are faced right sides together. What we're going to do now is align the fabric so where the grow on fly is and that front crotch. Our first step will be to serge down this grow on fly and through the crotch. And before getting started with the machine, always make sure to test on the scrap piece of fabric provided for you to test the tension. Throughout this video, I will be serging where possible. However, if you don't have a serger, that is fine. Everything that I am serging, you can sew together at 3/8. Once again, I'm at my machine with the fabric, aligning those raw edges and serging through that grow on fly. And as I'm doing that, I'm kind of straightening it out because it is a curve. So just matching up that corner and slowly maneuvering it. Once again, lining up the raw edges, and we're always trying to pull it straight and always sewing in a straight line. Alright, so now that front is completely attached by a serge. So you'll see here we have a little notch at the top. This will be where we identify our grow on fly and do that J stitch. So since we're moving to a sewing machine now, I'm going to test my stitch length and tension on the scrap piece and make sure it looks good. I'll be stitching at about a 2.5 stitch length for this. Looks good. So to do this J stitch, essentially I'm starting at the bottom of the crotch and I'm just sewing along the outside of the serge. So sewing up that crotch until I hit that corner and going straight. So I've gone up, I'm hitting the corner, and as you can see, I'm just pulling the fabric so it's all nice and flat and straight up towards that notch in the waistband. Always making sure to backstitch at the end of our stitch lines. Once sewn, this is what it should look like. So now that we have our faux fly completed, what we're going to do is flip the shorts open so that it is wrong side up. Our sticker side should be up. However, I took the stickers off, so don't mind that. And we have our fly flipped to one side. This is where we will complete our J stitch. So we're going to sew directly on top of that serge. I like to sew right down the middle of it, and we're going to sew around the fly curve and only the fly curve. So once we get to there, you're going to see me just go right into the stitch line that was previously there. And right here, I'm pivoting around that corner slowly, trying to pull it straight as I can. And I'm just going into that straight stitch line. Once that is completed, you'll be able to see your J stitch from the front, just like this. Now that the front of our boxer short is complete, we're going to work on the back rise. So you're going to fold it right sides together. I'm just going to flip it over here for a better view. sticker side up, so the wrong side is facing you, the right sides are together, and you're gonna serge down that crotch so it's sewn together. As you can see, once again, I'm doing my best to sew in a straight line even though it's a curved edge, and I'm just lining up those raw edges and serging through. So once that is done, our front rise and our back rise are now sewn and serged together, and now we are going to create the leg openings. So we're going to flip it so the seam is down the center, and you'll see this little square cutout on both sides. This is where our legs will attach. So what I'm going to do here is right sides together. I'm going to line up the two crotch seams and sew this little square cutout along in a straight line. This will create our pant leg openings. And as you can see, you really want to make sure that those seams are aligning with each other in the crotch. After you're done, this is what it'll look like. So now that we have created the two leg openings, what's left is to hem the bottom of our shorts. So from here towards the inside of the short, you're gonna roll in 3/8 and then up another 1/2 inch. Stitch along the folded side top. So as I come to my machine, I'm just slowly rolling in that 3/8 and then that 1/2 inch, and I'm just doing it incrementally and taking my time. This is something that requires patience, but it'll look great in the end. Do this on both sides, and this is what it should look like once you're finished. Now moving on to completing the waistband, take your elastic waistband piece and overlap 3/8. From here we will sew down the middle. Once finished, this is what it'll look like. For the next step, you can always just eyeball it, but I like to use pins as little markers for myself. So from where the seam is on our waistband, you will fold in half and find the exact halfway point. And then once you find those two marks, you'll fold in half once again and find the other quarter points. So what I'm gonna do now is attach the waistband over the short, and I'm gonna put that seam at the wearer's left side, as you can see here. And I pin this into place. So I'm going to pin all the way around. I'm going to pin at both side seams and the back rise, and then I'm just down a pin, so I'm just going to start at the front rise and line up my halfway point there. So because there's more fabric than there is elastic waistband, that's why we've put these markers in. So in between every pin, we are going to pull the elastic, as you'll see me do here. Line up the raw edge with the edge of the elastic, and then you can begin sewing. Keeping tension on the elastic from your next anchor point. As you can see, I approach my next pin, and then I pull the next elastic of the anchor point, and I just work my way around the waistband. After you've worked your way around, this is what it'll look like once the elastic is attached to the right side of the fabric. Our next step is to roll this elastic into the wrong side of the fabric, enclosing the elastic, as I'm doing here. So from here, we're going to sew along that folded edge. Back at my machine, I'm rolling in once and a second time to completely enclose it, and then putting it under my presser foot right at the edge. Slowly moving all the way through and around my elastic. You'll notice you don't need markers or pins for this next part, you'll just have to be pulling the elastic taut around the whole thing. You'll see, once again, I'm doing it in sections, so a little bit, making sure it's pulled tight, and then the next. And this is what your elastic waistband will look like once you're finished. To create the tie, this piece will be labeled number 2. So essentially what we're going to do here is along the long ways, we're going to fold in once, fold in twice, and then fold in half so that there are no raw edges being shown. So as you do this, you can cut off any fray or just tuck them in. Unfortunately, because this is so tiny, I was trying to give you guys the best angle here, and then you'll just stitch along the edge to enclose it. Here's another angle. I always like to call this fold like barn doors. So you fold in like barn doors and then you fold in half and stitch along that open edge. In the back there, you'll see this is what it'll look like. So once it's all sewn together long ways, what we're going to do with the edges is fold in a quarter and stitch that down. Once your drawstring is finished, it's time to attach it to the short. So you'll want to fold it in half and find the midway point. And then you will sew it to the middle of the faux fly onto the boxer short. And I'm just lining it up right in the middle and sewing about a 2-inch stitch line onto the short. And once completed, this is what it'll look like once attached. I wanted to quickly point out that I have a double stitch, or some may say a messy stitch here. I just wanted to bring light to the fact that it's not always going to be perfect. We're tying a bow over it anyway, and it still looks good. So don't be afraid of imperfections. Moving on from that, our next step is to sew in our label and care tag. So we'll find the back of the short, and we're going to take our label and content care tag, fold the content care tag in half, and stitch onto the label right underneath. Then we will center it and sew it down the short sides here. In this clip, you'll see me sewing the content care tag onto the label. And after that's complete, I sew the short ends down to the back center of the waistband. Once completed, this is what it'll look like. Our very last step is to make sure that our shorts are pressed. So we are gonna press the hems, we're gonna press the waistband tie, and we're gonna generally steam the short so that it's wrinkle-free. I like to do this on a very low setting or steam lightly from a distance. Your Taegan Boxer shorts are now complete. We will see you next time on Sew with Zero.